on this occasion of the World Mental Health Day. To celebrate this day, Mental Health Foundation of India, in association with the Department of Psychiatry, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, is giving you the conclave on mental health awareness with the theme Living with Dignity. Before we start, I request all of you to put your phones on silent or turn them off. They say the purpose of light is to create more light, to open people's eyes and to reveal the marvels around. So let's start this afternoon with the symbolic lamp lighting. To do the honors, I take the privilege of inviting our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Ram Gopal Yadav, our Dean, Professor Balram Iron, Professor S.K. Khandelwal, Mr. Anil Agarwal, Dr. Binod Kumar and Dr. Nand Kumar to join us on the dais and kindly light the lamp. Please, sir. I also request our medical superintendent, Dr. Sir, to join us, please. Dr. Sharma. Big hand, please. I request our dignitaries to kindly join us on the dais. Please, sir. To begin, I request Dr. Nand Kumar to welcome our Honorable Chief Guest with a flower and a token of remembrance. I now request Professor Khandelwal to welcome our Honorable Dean. I request Dr. Chadha to welcome Dr. Binod Kumar. Dr. Binod Kumar. I request Dr. Sagar to present a bouquet and token of remembrance to Dr. Khandelwal. And I request Dr. Mamta Sood to present flowers and token of remembrance to Dr. Nand Kumar. May I now request Dr. Nand Kumar to tell our audience about the Mental Health Foundation of India. Dr. Nand is an additional professor, Department of Psychiatry, All India Institute of Medical Sciences.
Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Ram Gopal Yadav ji, Chairman Standing Committee of Parliament on Health and Family Welfare, and also our institute body member, and Dean Professor Balram Aran, our Head of Department, Professor S.K. Khandelwal, Professor Vinod Kumar, President of the Foundation, MHF India, and distinguished panelists, colleagues, and all ladies and gentlemen and guests. As an organizing chairperson, I extend my heartiest welcome to all of you on the second event organized by Mental Health Foundation, India and Department of Psychiatry, AIIMS, New Delhi, on this August day, that is 10th October 2015, that is a World Mental Health Day. The focus of this conclave is to discuss and understand the views of mental health by mental health and non-mental health professionals, both, plus administrators and decision makers, including Honorable Member of Parliament and eminent person from corporate world, in addition to the subject expert, what we have. It is observed that of late, it is being realized by all stakeholders in the field of mental health that promotion of comprehensive awareness and understanding of various mental health issues among professionals as well as general public is of fundamental importance. And one can see this in the changing attitude of medical administrators, planners, and decision makers who are willing to pump up more resources to achieve positive mental health and to cover comprehensive coverage. And this is precisely and why Mental Health Foundation was conceptualized by some persons like Dr. Vinod Kumar, and it was established in 2003, 28th March. In this 13 years of journey of Mental Health Foundation, they have done some remarkable contribution, like they conducted various programs to change in perception about the mental illness and evolve a sense of responsibility toward the general public to take care of the person who suffers from these kind of illnesses. They also filed one PIL in 2011 to decriminalize attempt to suicide as a criminal offense, that is section 309 of Indian Penal Code. And with their effort plus recommendation of Law Commission also, it is successfully being done and has been approved in the lower house and waiting in the Rajya Sabha. So I think it will be approved within the law will be deleted in 1 year or so. MHFI also conducted training workshop to make teachers and school administrators aware about the problems of children and to educate them about effective handling of the common behavioral adjustment and learning problems. The foundation also conducted behavioral changes and communication workshop for Uttarakhand government for medical and paramedical professionals. And in addition, last year they also conducted an internship program that was very successful for the students of BA Psychology. And with this, I request Professor Balram Aran, our Dean, to formally welcome all the guests.
Good afternoon. I heartily welcome Professor Ram Gopal Yadav ji, Honorable Member of Parliament Rajya Sabha, Chairman, Standing Parliamentary Committee, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and the Institute body member Sir, we are thankful to you and I welcome you on behalf of the AIMS as well as the Mental Health Foundation of India to this conclave, and we are thankful that you have spared your time, and we are looking for a few words of wisdom from you also. I also welcome Professor Vinod Kumar, President, Mental Health Foundation of India, the brain behind this conclave, Professor S.K. Khandelwal, Head of the Department Psychiatry, who is also the active member of this conclave, and under his stewardship this program is being organized. Professor Nandan Kumar, Organizing Chairperson, Department of Psychiatry, AIMS. I welcome Dr. D.K. Sharma, Medical Superintendent, AIMS, without whose participation and cooperation this conclave would not have taken place. And most importantly, I welcome all our distinguished guests here and all of you, the participants, without whom the conclave will never take place. In this society, we know that mental problems of various kinds are increasing day by day, and that is affecting our lives also. Not only that it affects our professional lives, but our personal lives also. And as the motto of this conclave says, living with dignity. Living with dignity is a matter of right for each and every citizen of India as well as the world also. Nowadays, we don't say that mental problem is basically a disease itself. We say it is a disease itself. Previously, the people used to shirk away if they had some problem. They don't want to see the psychiatrist or a psychologist to solve their problem. Rather, they will go deeper and deeper into their problems. Now more and more people, they come forward so that they can solve the problem and live the life of a respectful citizen. So I think this conclave will be very helpful in solving all these problems, creating the awareness amongst the public. I was going through the program. I see that this is not the conclave of the medical doctors alone. It is the conclave of the leaders of India who formulate the policy, from the Chamber of Commerce, from the revenue services also, and from other departments of the India. And I am sure that with this conclave we reach to a fruitful conclusion. I again welcome you all and thank you very much for calling me here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I take the privilege of giving a brief introduction about our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Ram Gopal Yadav. Professor Yadav is a Member of Parliament Rajya Sabha and Chairman Standing Committee on Health and Family Welfare. Over the course of his career, he has held various prestigious positions and has been member of organizations, committees such as Committee on Rural Development, Committee on Agriculture and Business Advisory Committee. Sir, I request you to formally inaugurate today's conclave and say a few kind words.
आदरणीय डॉक्टर बलराम जी, डॉक्टर खंडेलवाल साहब, डॉक्टर विनोद कुमार जी, डॉक्टर नंद कुमार जी, डॉक्टर शर्मा साहब, यहाँ उपस्थित सभी सम्मानित सज्जनों, छात्र और छात्राओं, हिंदी में बोलने में कोई दिक्कत तो नहीं है आप लोगों को समझने में हो रही? मैं सबसे पहले मेंटल फाउंडेशन ऑफ इंडिया और एम्स के साइकेट्री विभाग से जुड़े हुए लोगों को धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं कि उन्होंने एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर चर्चा करने के लिए इस कॉन्क्लेव का आयोजन किया। यूं तो जब से WHO का गठन हुआ 1946 में, तब से ही हेल्थ के बारे में, हेल्थ की क्या परिभाषा हो, WHO ने उसको परिभाषित किया, अन्य विद्वानों ने, जो डॉक्टर्स थे इस क्षेत्र से जुड़े हुए, उन्होंने अलग अलग तरीके से परिभाषित किया। लेकिन एक चीज सब में कॉमन है कि जो हेल्थ का सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट कंपोनेंट है इस परिभाषा का, वो मेंटल हेल्थ है। और मेंटल हेल्थ का मतलब केवल यही नहीं कि मेंटल इलनेस से जुड़े हुए लोग, ऐसा कोई आदमी नहीं है आज, इतना स्ट्रेस और इतना स्ट्रेन है, जिसको साल में, जो बिल्कुल सही है, जिसको साल में कम से कम एक बार चिंता और डिप्रेशन में न जाना पड़ता हो किन्हीं कारणों से। एक गंभीर समस्या है, परिवार टूटते जा रहे हैं, नई जनरेशन दिशा से कई बार भटक जाती है बिना अवेयरनेस पैदा किए हुए उनमें और बिना सही काउंसलिंग के। तो जो सबसे बड़ी जिम्मेदारी हमारे डॉक्टर्स के सामने है, साइकोलॉजिस्ट के सामने है या साइकियाट्रिस्ट के सामने है, वो है कि हम कैसे काउंसलिंग करें और किस तरह से इन लोगों को जागरूक करें ताकि बड़े पैमाने पर जो डिप्रेशन और मेंटल इलनेस के शिकार हो रहे हैं लोग, उनको रोका जा सके। एक अनुमान के अनुसार हर 10 व्यक्ति में एक व्यक्ति किसी न किसी तरीके से मेंटल हेल्थ की प्रॉब्लम से जूझ रहा है और ये गंभीर समस्या है। और जैसा शुरू में ही डॉक्टर बलराम ने कहा कि ये बढ़ती जा रही है निरंतर प्रॉब्लम, इसमें दो राय नहीं। मैं समझता हूं कि डॉक्टर विनोद कुमार जी ने ये जो शुरू किया है प्रयास, ये बहुत काम आएगा अगर इसको और ज़्यादा बड़े स्तर पर फैलाया जाए, देश में, देश के बाहर भी। क्योंकि सबसे बड़ी समस्या एक ये है कि अगर जरा भी कोई व्यक्ति किसी साइकोलॉजिस्ट के पास जाता है या किसी मनोचिकित्सक के पास जाता है, तो दूसरे लोग ये समझने लगते हैं कि इसमें कुछ मेंटली कोई डिस्टर्ब है, कोई कमी है, और उसको हेय दृष्टि से देखने लगते हैं। ये जो सोशल स्टिग्मा है, इसको जब तक नहीं दूर करेंगे तब तक हम लोग जो प्रयास कर रहे हैं उसमें सफल नहीं हो सकते। ऐसी स्थिति जब बनती है तो जो व्यक्ति थोड़ा बहुत मानसिक तौर पर परेशान होता है, वो अपने आप को आइसोलेटेड महसूस करता है, वो उसका जो सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस होता है वो खत्म हो जाता है। वो अपने आप अपने लिए कुछ अगर करना चाहे तो करने की उसको लगता है कि हम जो कुछ करना चाहें अपने लिए तो कर नहीं सकते। तो ये केवल उसको एजुकेट करने से, उसको उसके बीच में उन लोगों के को अवेयरनेस उनके बीच में लाने से ही संभव है। तो सोशल स्टिग्मा जो लग जाता है, और जो लोग हैं, जो समझदार लोग हैं, उनको भी ये मान के चलना चाहिए कि उसमें आधे से ज़्यादा ऐसे लोग हैं जो मेंटली न तो डिरेल्ड हैं, न रिटार्डेड हैं, न मेंटली अनफिट हैं। साइकोलॉजिकल उनका अगर ट्रीटमेंट किया जाए तो उससे ही वो ठीक हो सकते हैं। तो ये तमाम चीज़ें हैं जिनको यहाँ पर बैठे हुए लोग और आप सब लोग, आप एक बहुत ही प्रतिष्ठित संस्थान से जुड़े हुए सारे लोग हैं। आज भी हिंदुस्तान के लोग सबसे ज़्यादा ऑल इंडिया इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मेडिकल साइंसेज पर भरोसा करते हैं। यहाँ से निकलने वाले लोग जहाँ भी जाएं, जिस क्षेत्र में जाएं, अगर इस तरह के मेंटल इलनेस से जूझने वाले लोगों से उनके सामने आते हैं तो उनको अगर मदद कर सकते हो, काउंसलिंग कर सकते हो, तो ये बहुत बड़ा समाज के प्रति उनका योगदान होगा। मुझे उम्मीद है ये कॉन्क्लेव एक इस दिशा में मील का पत्थर साबित होगा और मैं इसके आयोजक प्रोफेसर नंद कुमार, डॉक्टर विनोद कुमार और एम्स की फैकल्टी से जुड़े हुए डॉक्टर खंडेलवाल और डीन साहब, इन सबको धन्यवाद देता हूं कि आपने इसका यहाँ आयोजन किया। और नौजवान सब युवक और युवतियां यहाँ हैं, ये अच्छी चीज़ है, क्योंकि ये जब कुछ सीख के जाएंगे तो लंबे अरसे तक देश के लोगों को सही रास्ते पर ले जाने का काम करेंगे। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं इस कॉन्क्लेव का प्रारंभ या उसकी शुरुआत की घोषणा करता हूं और इसकी सफलता की कामना करता हूं। धन्यवाद।
Thank you very much, sir. I now request Professor S.K. Khandelwal, Head, Department of Psychiatry and Chief, National Drug Dependence Treatment Center, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, to shed some light on roots of mental health.
Chief guest Shri Ram Gopal Yadav ji, Professor Balram Mehran, our Dean of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Dr. Vinod Kumar and Dr. Nand Kumar, and all of you whom I should call as friends of mental health, because you have taken time to assemble in this hall this afternoon. If you have seen outside the various banners, it talks about the mental health and what mental health should mean to all of us and how we should improve or sustain our mental health. Few weeks back, sir, I was attending a debate why India is not a great power yet. The person who had organized this debate, he had mentioned number of reasons. In fact, he has written a book entitled Why India is Not a Great Power Yet. He had given many reasons that we are still not at that stage when we should be calling ourselves a superpower or a great power in the world. The debate was also attended by a former union minister, and he did not agree with the author. He said, we are already there, we are already a superpower, we are a great nation, and he cited 3 reasons for this. One reason was the demography. And when he said demography, he said that he did not only mean that we are 1.25 billion nation at this time, but he said that our demography is our strength. We are a source of rich human capital. We are exporting our human minds, human capital to practically all nations of the world at this time. And he was not wrong, because we see that major multinational corporations of the world like Microsoft, Apple, Google, etc., they are now headed by people of Indian origins. So he said that we are already, our demography is a big strength. Second thing he said about our culture, that our culture is as old as 5,000 years, and we have very rich heritage by way of our values, norms, and many other things which the other countries, they look upon us for inspiration, for guidance, for advice. Third thing he said was our economic power. We have not surpassed China, but we hope that very soon we would be able to surpass China, and we will be walking alongside the great superpower that America is. So he said that we are already there. And by those yardsticks, he said that India is a great nation. From my side, I would like to add few more things that why we are a great nation. We have launched satellites. We have been launching satellites for not only for our own nation, but we are also carrying payload of many other countries in the world now. We are a nuclear power, we have reached moon, and we are also circling the orbit of Mars. So science and technology also, we are a great nation now. But whether all these things, what I have said as demography, culture, our increasing GDP, or our science and technology, does that make us a great nation? Personally, I believe that though very much I would like India to be called as a great nation, we have not reached near that status as yet. And I have got certain reasons to believe this way. Just by these achievements, a nation cannot be called as great, because we also have to see our social indices. Though our social indices, health indices, they have improved substantially over the last 2 decades, but still we are not near the nations we are called as great nations or superpower nation. We still have a huge mass of people who are living below the poverty line. We are having a huge number of people who are still illiterate. Our young mothers are dying during childbirth. Our children, infants, are dying before the completion of first year of their lives. So hence there are number of such indices. We are quite shameful. Until the time we have improved those indices, we cannot be called as great nation. Now, what is the role of mental health in improving all these indices? 15 years back, the United Nations came out with a report called Millennium Development Goals. It listed number of goals which we should be accomplishing if we are to maintain or where we should be calling ourselves as civilized nation. Civilized nation is one which looks after its marginalized people, which looks after its weaker sections of the society. And this Millennium Development Goal report by UN, it exhorted all the nations in the world that they should try to achieve those goals which included poverty, maternal mortality rate, infant mortality rate, literacy, all those kind of things, 10, 12 of those millennium goals which this report enunciated. Nowhere near in this list, long list of goals, was mental health mentioned. But if you look at this, I want that all the young students who are sitting here, they should look at this Millennium Development Goal. It's all available in the Google. That none of these Millennium Development Goals can be achieved till there is a very strong, significant component of mental health in it. It has been shown by various studies that if mother enjoys good mental health, she can look after her pregnancy, she can look after her process during the labor, she can raise her infant and the child much better way if she enjoys a good mental health. It has been seen that the mothers who are suffering from, let's say, depression, or who are having some problem with substance abuse, the chances of their going through a difficult labor, maternal mortality, the death during the labor, or their children dying at very young age, they have increased substantially. We all know that the role education plays in uplifting our economic standard. And you can have good education only if you enjoy good mental health. So all these goals, what I am trying to say is that all these goals, they have very significant component of mental health. So even if Millennium Development Goal is not mentioned in those goals, it influences all the goals which are mentioned in the Millennium Development Goal. It is also been seen now in various reports and studies that mental health is not when you start worrying about mental health, or when you think that your mental health is compromised, or you think that you are under stress and you should need some mental health professional's intervention. People say that mental health begins even when a couple wants to produce a family. Influence of mental health starts right at that time. If the couple enjoys good mental health, they would produce a child who is strong mentally, who is strong physically. It is all very well shown in various studies. The kind of influences the mother goes through the pregnancy, whether they are of stress, whether they are of nicotine consumption, whether they are of alcohol, or any such other kind of minor or major psychiatric illness, they influence the outcome of pregnancy. So it's very important for the mother that she enjoys a good mental health. Similarly, for an infant or a child to grow up well physically as well as mentally, it is very important that the child is saved from number of bad influences which this child is likely to be exposed. For example, violence, child abuse, sexual abuse, all these kind of things. So all these pay a lot if you look after these kind of influences which are of very negative nature. Similarly, the kind of inputs the child receives during the formal education at school or even at higher education, they all contribute to development of good mental health. So mental health does not start when you are adult or when you start thinking of stresses, but at each stage of our life, even before pregnancy, during pregnancy, infancy, childbirth, there are ample number of risk factors. Because our society has become like this, that risk factors are numerous. And how we look after those risk factors, that will determine that what kind of offspring, what kind of progeny, what kind of population, what kind of citizens we are producing in our country. It has been said that a nation's wealth is not determined by the economic capital, but nation's wealth is determined by the kind of mental well-being or the mental capital which a country enjoys. If the country enjoys a high index of mental health or mental capital or what we call as cognitive reserve, this country is undoubtedly going to progress and surpass many other countries. So if India has to surpass China, if India has to surpass America in terms of being called as great superpower, I think we'll have to pay attention to how we build up our mental capital, mental well-being, and mental health. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Dr. R.K. Chadha, Professor, Department of Psychiatry, to enlighten our esteemed guests regarding the current status of mental health.
Honorable Chief Guest Shri Ram Gopal Yadav ji, respected Dean, Professor Khandelwal, Dr. Nand Kumar, Professor Vinod Kumar, and ladies and gentlemen. As remarked by our chief guest, it was more than 60 years ago that WHO gave definition of health and included mental health as one of the important, one of the three components of health. But mental health as such has been ignored by the policymakers and public health professionals over all this period. It was in early 1990s that mental disorders were recognized as one of the important contributors to the global burden of disease. And this change happened because in the past it was the mortality statistics, the disease which would lead to death, they would be taken as the priority conditions for any public health funding or public health planning. And in global burden of disease study of 1990, first time morbidity statistics were taken, that diseases which lead to disability and mental disorders were recognized as one of the important contributors to disability-adjusted life years. That's the concept of DALYs. And that's how the mental health and mental illnesses came into the forefront as one of the major contributors to disease-associated disability or DALYs. Another important movement which occurred in our country, it was the launch of National Mental Health Program. That was in 1982. And India was one of the first countries which came out with the National Mental Health Program. Though in the initial nearly 10 to 15 years, not much happened in the National Mental Health Program. Mental health promotion was one of the main objectives of National Mental Health Program, besides bringing mental health services to all the population which is in need of the mental health services. But in the last 20 years, there has been marked development in the in reaching objectives of National Mental Health Program. Like in today's newspaper, the advertisement by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare says that 240 districts have been covered under the district mental health. It's more than 240, it's 243, I think, that's the figure given. 243 districts have been covered under the district mental health program. Besides, 11 centers of excellence in mental health have been created to augment the mental health manpower, which provide training to generate the mental health professionals in the field of psychiatry, not only in the field of psychiatry, but also in the allied disciplines like clinical psychology, psychiatric social work, psychiatric nursing. And a number of medical colleges, they are also the services in mental health have been augmented. So these are some of the important developments in the field of mental health in our country, some of which have been undertaken under the National Mental Health Program. Last year, in October 2014, just 1 year ago, exactly on this date, we came out with the mental health policy, which has described a number of initiatives to be taken, which will be taken under in the field of mental health by the government. Before that, we never had mental health policy. So these are the important developments in the field of mental health. But still, a lot of work is to be done. In one of the reports of World Health Survey, which came out in 2006, findings of 2003, it said that 90% of the persons who suffer from depression, they don't receive treatment. So such a large mental health gap in common mental disorders, and depression has been recognized as one of the leading causes of disease-related disability. And the large chunk of this population remains untreated. Then we have a number of other challenges. Our mental health manpower is very limited. We require much more number of mental health professionals. What we have just 5,000 psychiatrists, and we need more than 10,000 psychiatrists as per the WHO's standards. Number of psychiatrists in our country is much less as compared to the West. It's nearly 1/10. We have one psychiatrist for 2 lakhs of population, whereas the countries like US or UK have one psychiatrist for 10,000 of population. Our family system, joint family system, which used to offer a great deal of support, it's gradually breaking up. The nuclear families often find difficulty in providing support. We need to come with the alternative support mechanisms which can take the stress from the families in taking care of the persons with mental illness. mental health is not covered under insurance, under health insurance. Though this may be covered once the mental health care bill, which is in the pipeline, and once it's become act, it has taken provisions to include directions to the IRDA to include mental health in the mental illnesses should not be in the exclusion list for medical insurance purpose. We hear a lot of reports of violation of rights of persons with mental illness. The new bill has much more wider provisions to take care of the rights of persons with mental illness. So, district mental health program and national mental health program have also made a lot of progress, but still we have a lot of things to achieve. And we have a number of challenges which we need to overcome. With these, I conclude. My next speaker, Dr. Avdesh Sharma, would be talking about the mental health in 2025 and what progresses we are likely to make in the next 15 years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now request Dr. Avdesh Sharma, consultant psychiatrist and founder of Rahat Trust and Minds Vision, to help our audience have a glimpse of the status of mental health in 2025.
Thank you very much, dignitaries on the dais, especially Professor Ram Gopal Yadav, because I would have a few suggestions which can be taken up right now, starting today. But let's see where we would be in 2025. I think mental health is too important to be left only to professionals. As Dr. Chadha said, we have only so few of us, and we are too stretched in doing what we do the best. That's looking after those who are mentally not well at this point of time. You are the future. In next 10 years, you will decide what the mental health of the community is going to be. And that would depend on the choices that we make today, starting right now. I'm going to talk about India-centric, which means what happens to a country like India, but we also should not forget that while we have countries like America, that Dr. Chadha said, have 1 in 10,000, there are countries, especially in the sub-Saharan regions, where there are hardly not few hundred or dozens, but few psychiatrists for the entire country. So I think the future will hold the key in knowing how we can turn resilience to our advantage, number one. What do we learn from societies which do not have mental health professionals, but societies and communities themselves have learned to look after their own mental health? The kind of roadmap that I have, which I want to share with you in next about 8-9 minutes, is going to talk about the various possibilities from various sectors. Those of you who are sitting here will tomorrow be, hopefully, in politics, because we keep talking about why politicians are not doing much, but we don't do something to be there in politics to be able to take control of the country. Whether it's bureaucracy, whether it's judiciary, whether it's law enforcement, whether it is those who go into medicines, those who become social scientists, they will decide how the community as a whole comes forward to take this task forward. Let me also share another thing. The statistics that you talk about are statistics of average. There are pockets in this country where there is no mental health professional, and there are places where you have huge numbers of them. There are resources which are skewed. You have 80-20 kind of ratio that we talk about, which means 80% of resources are in cities which are only 20% of the population. So this pool needs to first get distributed, get shifted, and we need to start putting the pooling of the whole thing together. Second, from right now, prevention will have to become the key. Because in 10 years, if we want to reduce the burden of mental illnesses, that means that we have to reduce right now, as Dr. Khandelwal said, right from childhood. The mental health issues can start happening. Right from whether you have an atmosphere at home which is conducive and a child grows up with trust, or in adolescence where early experimentation with various kind of substances may happen, or too much of stress, or issues relating to school may start breaking them down. So if in next 10 years we can start preventive health education and we can look at promotion of health, incidentally, health does not mean compartmentalization. Most of us have started thinking of it as physical, mental, social, occupational, and now economic health. All of them are linked together. The mind is a part of the body, and whatever I think actually impacts the body completely. 1/3 of people who go to a physician do not have a health issue. They have a mental health issue. So if you can start improving the mental health of the individual, you will do a great job as far as the upcoming and now well-established diabetes, hypertension, heart diseases, cancer, where we are becoming the capitals of the world apart from suicide and depression. So once we can start looking at the entire thing as one, we would start reducing the total burden on health, which means you start saving on the needless investigations, which means you start saving on hospitalizations, which means you start having resources which are available to the population for health in general, not only health in particular. 2 or 3 major challenges which also can become opportunities in the future. One is social isolation. Lots and lots of studies today are coming up which are talking about how people, when they start withdrawing or they are cut off, it impacts their mental health. Second, alienation. Many of you who are sitting here have come from various backgrounds. You come to a bigger city, the culture is different, you start feeling alienated. Migration itself, different language, different kind of food, living arrangements being different, and if you are cut off from the family. They have huge impact on the mental health in the individuals. Incidentally, mental health and illness are not two compartments. Mental distress can lead on to mental dis-ease and can lead on to mental disorder. So it's a continuum. If you can start reducing the burden of mental distress, you probably will prevent a lot of people from becoming mentally disordered. Next few years, and I hope some of you sitting here would be at the forefront of that, there's a lot of scope happening in personalized medicine. There's a lot of scope in biomarkers, a lot of scope in newer kinds of research, especially in radiology and imaging. And that would be deciding how the services that are provided would be there at that point of time. The second is the area of technology. We have 3.5 crore people who are using the internet today, and we have 98 crore people, 35 crore and 350 million people who are using the internet today, and you have 98 crore people who are using the cell. Now that's the technology which you are familiar with. Many of us are still struggling to send that SMS, but I'm sure in next 10 years it will have twofold function. One, it may lead to more alienation, but of course the opportunity of also creating virtual communities. It may also mean that there would be a social withdrawal, but it would also mean that many of us would be able to connect with people we want to, any other part of the world. It may mean newer kind of addictions, especially pornographic addictions. It may also mean that we would be able to harness this technology, especially in terms of health promotion and disease prevention, to be able to reach out to the masses right in the heart of the country where other services are not available. Tribals, people who are living in the mountains, small villages. Television, Sanjeev Upadhyay ji is sitting here, who has done extensive work in field of health. We through Doordarshan did a lot of work with mental health awareness programs, especially the two series, one called Mind Watch and the other now, which is still running, called Mann Ki Baat, before the Prime Minister's Mann Ki Baat. This started in 2010, has about 80 episodes, which was able to go and create awareness right into the interiors. Now that's the power of technology, the power of radio, ham radios, community radios, which is right there, but somehow or the other we have not been able to connect it with social issues or with health related issues. In future, I'm sure the boundaries of psychiatry and psychology, boundaries of preventive medicine and promotive medicines, boundary of social and spiritual, boundaries of medicine and medication and meditation, that will start dissolving. And in the future, we will probably have integrative care. Integrative care means care for the person, care for the caregiver, care for the person right from the time that they come into therapy, giving them rehabilitation but with dignity. Dignity of care within the institutions but also within the families, within the society. Not seeing a person who's homeless and mentally ill out on the road. Not seeing the kind of abuse that we listen about in the institutions. And not seeing the kind of abuse and neglect which leads to social stigma and discrimination, but most probably for housing and for work, which is at this point of time one of the biggest challenge for those suffering from mental illness. Dr. Chadha spoke about the figures for resources that we have in terms of professionals. We have lost more people to the rest of the world than we have them here. We have 4,500 psychiatrists, but we have 17,000 psychiatrists in different parts of the world. We have brain drain, but we also can call it brain gain. And now, as was said about brain deposit, but there could also be brain distribution. Many of the people abroad want to come back. They want to send a helping hand. And I think we can form those communities, we can form those liaisons, and in 2025, I think we would see more and more of it. Integration of health, which means right from the ASHA worker, right from private practitioner to NGO to the government sector, being able to connect them all together and not in pockets. District mental health we have spoken of, but unfortunately, sorry to say so, it is mostly for institutions. Can it be for all sectors? And once that happens, we would be utilizing much more of the resources. Training of the resources, and most importantly, probably the segment that we forget is the segment of Ayush. 6 lakh practitioners already there on the ground providing mental health services, but unfortunately forgotten about because we are looking at pockets. Next 10 years, like a T20 game, you have game changers. Somebody comes and hits 6 sixes in the last over and the game has changed. I think there needs to be game changers in the next 5-7 years. The game changers could be somebody like Deepika Padukone, who today in Mumbai is launching her foundation at this point of time, 2:30 actually it was. There could be game changers like a politician or a social crusader or somebody getting a Nobel Prize, and then that particular area becomes an area of focus. Or it could be the well-being component tied up to the illness component, or it could be legislation which is very much adhered to, or it could be a corporate giant like one of the, we spoke about many of the Indians abroad, or we spoke about people like Ratan Tata and Jamshedji, who could be talking about a CSR in mental health for the entire community. Very doable. Doesn't cost much money. The very fact that all of you are sitting here, and I'm sure you have not been paid. You have come here on your own, like Dr. Khandelwal said, giving your time. All it requires is the motivation. And I think at this point of time, motivation is right. Because if you look at the numbers, 1 in 10 people suffering from hardcore mental health disorders and much larger number of people having mental health issues, which means 1 in every family at all points of time. So the motivation is great. And lastly, I would say 2 things. We have lots of challenges, but the challenges are something can be gotten over. The future will decide how we took the right decisions today, because we need to have mental health for all, for life, which is now the World Psychiatric Association's logo. And if we were to go by what has been the talk of the country for the last about 1 year, if we can have Swachh Man for Swachh Bharat and Swasth Bharat, that is the kind of India 2025 I want to see, and I'm sure I'll be joined by all when we reach there. Thank you very much.